But do you know what I realized? I was being trained for something much greater. Each event I produced was a point in my past, preparing me for what I do today, even though it didn't make sense at the time. Now, I want you to draw that point on your paper. If we're using a clock as a reference, place this point at 9 o'clock in the past. It could represent scarcity you experienced, a difficulty you faced, or even a moment when you were treated unjustly. These points have a powerful connection to your future. Let me share a personal example. I was assaulted in the past, an injustice that at the time felt like nothing but pain. But do you know what it brought me? A profound aversion to injustice. That shaped my purpose because today I seek to bring justice into people's lives. The lesson here is that points from the past echo into the future. They project a line that eventually transforms into a purpose you can't yet imagine. Now look at another example. Abraham, who was fearful at first. He overcame that fear and by healing his weakness, became known as the father of faith. What was a weakness in his past became his greatest strength in the future. Here's what I want you to understand. Wealth is a tool, but not for showing off or throwing money around. It's for connecting the points of your past with those of your future. When you can see this, everything starts to make sense. Now, focus on the present. So often we complain about difficulties, injustices, or even the hardships we face. But let me ask you, what are you doing with those experiences? Because these challenges could be the greatest tools for your breakthrough. Here's another personal example. Back in the past, I was one of the most scarcity-driven people I knew. I lived in fear, trapped in a scarcity mindset. And today I understand that it was all part of my training. Write this down. At 9 o'clock in the past, mark the most challenging thing you faced. Now look to the future. At 11 o'clock in the future, write something you want to achieve, even if you don't yet know how. Because when you start to connect these points, you'll realize that everything you've lived through wasn't random. There's nothing you've done that was a mistake. Repeat with me. There's nothing I've done in life that was a mistake or failure. Do you know why? Because the one who called you is the greatest resource manager that exists. He's connecting everything, even if you can't see it yet. Let me give you an example. I used to hate rich people. I thought they were arrogant and disconnected from reality. And today, I look at my own life and realize that God transformed that mindset. It wasn't by accident. Now let me tell you something that might shock you. When Jesus was in his own town, where people knew him as the Son of Mary, he couldn't perform miracles. Do you know why? Because familiarity breeds disrespect. People looked at him and said, "That guy, the carpenter's son, he's nothing special." But as soon as he stepped outside that town, people came to him and said, "I just want to touch the hem of your garment." This is a powerful lesson. Sometimes the greatest transformations and recognition happen when you step out of the familiar, out of your comfort zone. Those moments of rejection or doubt are just points connecting you to your ultimate purpose. So, look at your paper, at the points you've marked, and remember, every part of your journey, no matter how small or painful, is building towards something extraordinary. Do you know what this means? That many times, the problem isn't within you, but in the environment around you. Don't let the limitations of your environment define you. Who you are and what you've experienced wasn't by chance. Every point in your life, good or bad, is part of a bigger plan. Here's my final message for you right now. Connect the dots. Link the past, the present, and the future. Understand that everything has a purpose and that you are being prepared for something greater. Trust me, when you begin to see this, you'll be amazed at what's possible. You know, when I look at my life, I remember my dreams were simple. My dream was to own an Omega. Later, I dreamed of a Beetle with doors that opened backward. Eventually, I wanted a Camaro. Today, there are $5 million worth of cars in my garage. But do you know what never changed? My simplicity. Despite everything you might hear about me because of my fame, what I carry inside is a simple heart filled with peace. And that peace comes from understanding something that changed my life. Things are for using, people are for loving. Don't switch those roles. Many lose their way because they start treating people like things and things as if they were everything. If you feel lost today, it might be because you haven't respected what you've done in the past, or haven't yet seen how the dots of your future are beginning to emerge. Let me tell you about the greatest breakthrough I've ever had. It was the day I decided to map out my entire life. I began connecting the dots. I did this, I did that, I felt like this. I was rejected here, blocked there. It was such a powerful exercise that it changed my perspective on everything. For example, I realized I had a learning block. Back in the past, I saw myself as a simpleton who couldn't hold anyone's attention. Do you know how I felt? I'd get nervous talking to someone, and I'd start stuttering. And today, here I am, with 200,000 people watching me. You might be wondering, how is that even possible? The answer is simple. My block was connected to my purpose. What seemed like humiliation in the past was, in fact, building the bridge to a future I couldn't yet see. Let me tell you something important. The point in your past, no matter how painful it seems, isn't isolated. It has a purpose. It connects to something in your future. And when you start to understand this, everything changes. Do you know what I realized? Signing your future is a powerful act. Many of you haven't signed your own destiny yet because you're stuck in what was. But believe me, even the hardest moments have a reason. What once felt like inability or rejection is actually part of your training for something greater. Now, I want you to look at your point from the past and reflect. What seemed like a limitation at the time might actually be the key to your future. When I connected those dots, it was like pulling energy directly from the future into the present. And do you know what happens when you do this? You unlock a power you never imagined you had. So take a moment to truly reflect on your life's timeline. Each moment, each challenge, and each victory is part of the intricate design of your purpose. When you connect these points, you'll see that everything, yes, everything, has been leading you here. Now is the time to move forward with confidence, ready to embrace what's next. So, my friend, what you think is incapacity, humiliation, or even defeat is just a point from your past waiting to connect to your future. And when you make that connection, everything will make sense. You'll realize that nothing in your life was by chance. Nothing. I want you to write this down right now. There is nothing I've done in life that was a mistake or a failure, because the one who called you is the greatest resource manager that exists. He is using everything, even the hardest moments, to prepare you. And do you know what's most amazing? When you finally connect those dots, you discover that the past, the present, and the future were always working together. They were aligned, just waiting for you to see them. So, get ready. Because when you connect the dots, you'll be amazed at what can happen.